All right, welcome to the EZA show. I'm your host, Zach Blessing. Today we are going to talk about backtesting the strategy of manager tenure versus the 1 and the 3 year return here. So, first, what we did was I went and pulled 115 mutual funds from Fidelity, and I also pulled their 1 year, 3 year returns, and tried to keep their expense ratio around the same. And what we did was we found some manager tenure that ranged from 1 all the way to 30. So here we're going to test the significance to see if there's any correlation with tenure and return. So we ran the regression. Y was our return and X is our tenure. So we're going to say that the tenure affects our returns and test that and see if that's true. So first thing, when we ran the regression, we actually have a negative significance here as far as what the slope of the regression line is doing. So as the manager tenure increases, we actually have a decrease in the 1 year returns for these mutual funds that we pulled. That's kind of the first thing that we need. Second thing is to really look at the significance. Is this a high significance? Yes, we know that manager tenure increases, 1 year returns decrease, but how much significance do we have? So we look at our p-value or the significant f value here. Here it's 0.03. So by rule of thumb, the 95th percentile is less than 0.05 here. So we do have some significance as far as the confidence interval of 95%. So here we do see that there's a little significance between the manager tenure, how long they're at the mutual fund, and the 1 year returns. So if we look at the next thing, our R squared, how well does our points, our returns fit our regression line? And here we see that it's 0.04, so it doesn't fit our line very well, but we're okay with that because we're not exactly wanting to explain returns because of manager tenure. We just want to see if tenure has an effect on those returns. So here's our chart, our little graph we did. My regression line is in orange. We see that the slope is decreasing as manager tenure, our X variable, increases. So we have some variation in our points, but overall we're saying that as manager tenure increases, that the returns for the 1 year decreases. So with our significance and everything, we can reject the null hypothesis, but there's only some significance. We would normally like a little bit lower of a p-value because we're kind of close to the 0.05 there. So we're able to say there is some statistical significance, but we would always like to have some more as far as explaining what's going on in these mutual funds and the return. The second was to take the 3 year returns based on the manager tenure of the same mutual funds. So first thing, we see that our slope here is 0.09, but it's negative as well. So we do see that it is a little bit less of a slope as far as for the 3 year returns. So this explains that as manager tenure increases, the returns decrease, but at a slower rate than the 1 year returns did. So that's our first indication of what's going on with our regression line. The second is to see if there's significance here. So once again, our p-value is a little bit lower, 0.0308, than our 1 year return, meaning that we do have some significant statistical significance here as far as the manager tenure versus our 3 year returns. The next step is to look at our R squared. We have a pretty low R squared here. So like I said again, we don't necessarily want tenure to explain the returns, but we wanted to just see if there's a relationship. So if we look at our graph here, we see the decline in the slope, meaning that as manager tenure is lower, we have higher returns. As it increases, we have lower amount of returns. So here we also can reject the null hypothesis. There is some statistical significance, but overall we would like to have a p-value or an f value a little bit lower than what we have to be completely confident in manager tenure truly affecting the returns for these mutual funds. So overall, we do see that as manager tenure increases, the 1 and the 3 year return have decreased based on our regression statistics. So we see some statistical significance, but we would always like to see a p-value a little lower than what we were given. So this was my backtesting strategy. My name is Zach Blessing, and thanks for watching.